Hey, this is Cindy Wilson from the B-52s, and you're listening to Walking the Floor.
I'm walking the floor over you.
Walking the floor.
I'm walking the floor. Walking the floor over you.
Hola, senors and senoritas. This is Chris Shiflett, and you are listening to Walking the Floor. First off, let me state very clearly, happy belated Thanksgiving. See, it's actually technically right now when I'm recording this, it's Tuesday, so it's before Thanksgiving, so it's not belated, but by the time you hear this, it will be. So really, I should have said that on last week's episode, but I forgot, because I always forget when holidays are happening, and I forget to do that on the show. But so I'm just gonna make that clear. Yeah, happy belated Thanksgiving. And we're really getting into the swing of the holiday spirit over here at the Walking the Floor podcast. I'm sitting here today in my studio. It's a beautiful, gorgeous day outside, but I'm not getting any of that because I'm in here holed up, writing songs, getting ready for make a new record. Booked some studio time next year. I got studio time on the books. I'm gonna make another solo record coming soon. Probably won't be out for like a year or more, but I just thought I'd throw that in there so I'm not just sitting around here in the time off between tours lazing around. I'm working on stuff, getting some new songs together. It's fun. Tweaking. I'm in the studio tweaking. And to get ready for making a new record, I should probably get myself on over to zounds.com. The greatest place on the internets to get your, musical gear. Zounds has absolutely free shipping on every order with no minimum purchase required and no exclusions. So that's right. Zounds.com, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do it. All right, let's get to the interview. Okay, now a few weeks ago, we were on tour down in Columbia, South Carolina, and I had the absolute pleasure of sitting down with Cindy Wilson from the B-52s to talk about her new solo record that's coming out called Change on Kill Rock Stars on December 1st. Make sure you go out and get it. That's the end of this week. Check it out. It's great. Come on. Cindy Wilson. She is rock and roll royalty. We talked about, of course, the early days of the B-52s. She said some really sweet stuff about her brother, Ricky, who was, like kind of the driving force musically in the early days of the band. And passed away in the mid-'80s. We even talked about gardening. She's into gardening. She gave me some gardening tips. And of course, we talked about, her making her new solo record and, getting out on the road and all that sort of stuff and starting over and just everything. So here she is. You're going to love it. This is Cindy Wilson from the B-52s on Walking the Floor. Well, you've done this before. Hey, I'm going to warn you that I've got my questions on my phone.
Okay.
So when you see me look at my phone, I swear I'm not like checking Twitter and shit like that. Okay, I promise.
It's okay. Yeah. Whatever helps.
All right. So also, my podcast, I generally interview like country singers a lot of the time. Right? So yeah. So maybe you should start. Yeah, you should start with your deep-rooted love of country music. all your favorite honky-tonk singers.
Oh my goodness! Something
tells me that you're not a huge country music fan.
Well,
maybe I could be wrong.
I do like country, but I like the old country.
Well, me too.
That's
my country.
Yeah. I don't like the pop country stuff.
I know.
So yeah, you talk about Patsy Cline.
Oh yeah.
And who else do I love? Of course, Dolly. And I love June Carter Cash. She was so. I met her, by the way.
Did you really?
Yes, and actually shared a stage with her.
Really?
It was in Atlanta, and it was a festival going on, and they were doing a TV show, and we happened to be on the same stage, And so I went and I met her backstage at the makeup room where she was getting made up, and they were actually trimming the false eyelashes. And I said, "Oh, that's I introduced. I came in, I introduced myself, and she said, "Honey, you're so sweet." I said, I don't know the B-52s, and I told her about us and everything.
Awesome.
And I told her I was from Athens, Georgia, and my father was a really hardcore country music fan,
Oh, really? So did
Yeah,
you grow up
so
with those
Jimmy-
records in the background? Kind of
Oh
thing?
yes, and so he liked Man in Black. What's his name?
Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash, of course.
Yeah, sure.
And so we were talking, and she was putting her false the makeup artist for the eyelashes on. I said, well, that's interesting, trimming them like that. She said, you got to make them really natural looking, just a little bit, I thought that was great.
That's like a great showbiz
I
moment.
know.
Trimming the eyelashes.
to make it look natural.
Right.
And,
You're like, "Ooh,
and
I'm
so,
picking up tips here.
oh yeah, and so she was amazing. She had all of her family around her, and they sang some songs, and I got to do my thing, and she came, and she came backstage afterwards. She says, honey, I didn't know who you were, but I sure am going to listen for you now, and she was really wonderful. Really
How cool.
warm. Yeah.
It's so great when you meet legends like that and
Well,
have
country
them get to have a real moment
music
like that.
people are really down
Right.
to earth, usually,
Sure.
and so that was my favorite meeting. But yeah, I love old country music.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your solo stuff that
Okay.
you got going on. I noticed, I was listening to the stuff that's out there on Spotify, and you have 2 like EPs or half albums, or I don't know how you describe
EPs.
them, and then a couple of singles for the forthcoming
Yes,
stuff. But I was
yes.
wondering if you released it that way, like was that a response to sort of modern technology and people's failing attention spans, not being able to, listen to a whole record nowadays, or is that just what has happened? Why EPs first?
Well, I was listening to my my fellow bandmates, and they're much younger, and so they do things differently these days.
Right.
And you do have to think about attention spans and
Yeah.
building again. It's a whole new thing.
Yeah.
And so, I listened to what they had to say, and we released 2 EPs, and we went on tour and did South by Southwest, in Austin, and met up with Portia from Kill Rock Stars, and we talked, and we agreed, and she's a wonderful person. She loved the music, and so we became partners in this. So it's going to be coming out December 1st of the album.
So were the first 2 EPs not on Kill Rock Stars? Is it just the new one?
Those are independent. Yeah.
Okay, because that's actually something I wanted to get to.
Yeah.
So since you mentioned it, we'll just jump to it now. Which
Okay.
was, obviously the music industry has changed so dramatically
It
in the
really
years
has.
that you've been a part of it.
Yeah.
That I was wondering how you approached, getting a record deal nowadays. You know what I mean? Was there like a little bit of a sense of like starting over?
Oh, completely like starting over. With the B-52s, we started by putting out a independent 45, with
Right.
Rock Lobster on one side
right.
and 52 Girls on the
Sure.
other. And shopped, in record stores in New York and Atlanta. And it turned out Minneapolis and Chicago, it spread the word for you.
Right.
There was no social media. But
And that was like in the days before there was really like an
it was just
independent
word-
music world that sort of came later
well,
in the 80s,
it was
right?
word of mouth, and it's amazing how fast word of mouth can take. But anyway, so yeah, that was B-52s, but the solo, it's a totally different thing. And like I said, I listened to the younger guys, because they know what you're supposed to do now.
Right. But did Kill Rock Stars come to you?
No.
Or did you go to them?
Well, they came to see the show
Right.
in South by Southwest, and we did interviews, and Portia was there and loved it. It was really interested, but it was only months later that we signed.
Right.
And everybody I asked were like, their jaws dropped. You mean Kill Rockstar? You're gonna get Kill Rockstar? Yeah.
I mean, it seems like a total perfect fit. I mean, you must, I assume, kind of trip out on how deep your music's influence has been on today's like indie rock type artists.
Well, it's been 40
I mean, you
years.
hear echoes of it in
Well,
everything.
That's with every artist that makes it. They affect their crowd.
But you guys had, like, to my mind, B-52s are a rare example of a band with a like an actually original, unique sound, and also one that's never been duplicated. Really, people pull aspects of it. I've been in the recording studio a million times. We're like, let's do something twangy with like a B-52s kind of feel. Yeah, like it's a reference point. But I don't know that there's anybody out there that's ever sounded like you guys, really. But your influence is very obvious.
Yes, I think we did bring a lot. We were authentic and original, and it was what, 76 or 77 when we started, and I mean, I can't believe it's been over 40 years now, and we keep doing it, and it does affect different generations.
Sure.
I see children at the concerts, an older crowd, and
people bringing their kids
everywhere, and so, and looking out to the audience, you see a mixture, and everybody's having a good time. I love that. That's what makes it so fun.
Is this your first time making a solo record? I mean, besides this period of your career.
I've played around with different other musicians, but this is the first serious effort, and I thought it was strong enough, and my band was kick-ass enough to do this, and I really love putting my energy into it.
Why now? Like, why at this point in your life are you doing a solo record?
I think doing music is a real outlet, and if you're stressed or whatever, or you just need to do music. Some people just need to do music. Yeah. And I found some great musicians who we really worked well together, and it was I opened myself up to change, and let the influences come in, and be a student, so it became this just amazing school for me.
Right. And that's great to hear. I mean, especially from somebody that's been making music. You've made a lot of music in your life, and to still be open. A lot of people just kind of get rigid about the process. As they go on through it.
In fact, I drop kicked everything that I knew, let it go. And just create something totally different.
Well, what should people listening know about your solo stuff? Because the stuff that I listen to is definitely it's different sounding than B-52s. It's more I don't know, a little bit more. It's not techno, but it's a little more like electronic, like dancey kind of feel to it.
Major electronic influences in there. And
the one song that I thought sounded the most maybe B-52s was turned out to be a cover.
Yeah, it's probably the Junior Senior.
It's called Brother.
Oh, Brother.
Yeah.
That was an OK song. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They were an Athens band back in the early 80s.
Okay.
And, we did a cover of their song. And it's actually going to be, we did a video for it. It's coming out the end of this month. And it was so much fun doing. We did it in a friend's garden. And it was kind of a mystical, psychedelic imagery, and it really turned out great. I'm really pleased with it.
So you're going to hit the road after the record comes out then?
We have been to start building the audience. Like we talked about, you have to start over again.
Yeah. And how's the response from, like, I imagine you get a lot of, like,
people go,
diehard B-52 fans there. Are they like,
oh my God,
you're not playing the songs the way we want to hear, or they've been supportive?
Right. Yeah.
Because, there are those fans that, like, they love you so much, they hate you, kind of thing.
I know, you toyed with my music. Yeah. Maybe a small part, but there's been a lot of people that we just blew them away. They came in not knowing what to expect.
Sure.
And to be honest, I've been laying low as far as doing anything. So people didn't know what to really expect, and so the show is strong, if I do say so myself.
You can say so yourself. Absolutely. If you can't say so, who can?
It's strong, and so many people just loved it, and like I said, we're building our audience.
Right.
And
Well, with your new stuff that you're writing, I mean, was there any sense for you of like, was this stuff that you wouldn't have brought to B-52s, or was this stuff maybe music that you felt like you couldn't do with the band, and was that a part of why you're making a solo
no,
record?
not at all. I mean, the beats. The last thing we did was Funplex, and we throw everything, but the kitchen sink into making the B-52s, and we have to just like listen to all the jams and go through them and start putting the puzzle pieces of the song together.
Yeah.
Because that's a laborious, way to do writing.
Sure.
But it's good too. But it's very takes a little while.
Was it always like that? Like even in the earliest? Because I read that you guys all like lived in a house together.
At one
go
time,
through that early phase.
When we signed with Warner Brothers in Ireland, we got a check, and so we bought a house.
It's like the Monkeys. I mean, it's so great. It's like storybook.
And it was, but it was the wrong thing to do because there's way too much togetherness, But it was a good investment.
Sometimes in a band you need a break, right?
You need a break. We were like writing and touring, and just too much,
Yeah.
So, but before that, we'd been living in Athens, leading normal lives, but meeting and being a band that way, which was.
But how was the writing process like in those days for you guys? Was it everybody would write songs and bring them in, and then you guys would work on it together and kind of hammer them into shape, or was it like sitting in a room together, putting the ideas together?
Well, usually Ricky and Keith brought in the music, and Kate, Fred, and I would jam over it, and and pick out harmonies, pick out vocal melodies, pick out a subject matter, and sometimes what Fred was singing about, Kate didn't know what Fred was singing about, but it still made this amazing story, crazy story. It's great, but there are times when we actually had other people write songs, more like the lyrics. We had friends, donate poetry. And,
really?
Yeah, like Rome was lyrics were written by Robert. Was that Robert Waldrop? I think. I think it was. I should know by now. And so he wrote Hero Worship too. The words to Hero Worship, and we would take it and give it a vocal melody and construct it as a song, and do the harmonies,
That's interesting.
Yeah. So we were opening up to do it, not just one formula. We had so much to play with. I mean, you wouldn't believe all of our tapes that we didn't use. I mean, we could go through it.
Really?
Yeah, man.
Do you just have a crazy vault?
Vault of songs that we didn't put together. Like there was one song I wish had gotten fully developed. It was Voodoo Begonia. See, it was almost there, but it just kind of, we left it at a certain point because it became too hard to figure it out.
Have you ever gone back and listened to that stuff?
Oh yeah. Voodoo Begonia and Creature in a Black Bikini. Gold. It was pure gold. I love it. And there were several ideas. That
sounds like a box set waiting to happen.
Well, I think
who's got all those tapes?
Keith Strickland. Now Keith's got a lot of video too from back in the day. He bought when the video camera first came out. Back in the 70s, he bought this video, and while we bought the house with the Warner Brothers money, we had there was nothing to do sometimes, so we would like make a goofy,
home movie kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it was,
oh my God. Is that stuff on YouTube? I gotta go dig that.
Yeah, there was one time we were all on mushrooms, and it was crazy. And it's B-52s on mushrooms.
That could explain a lot.
Oh, we're totally a psychedelic band. Are you kidding?
Right. You guys are to me, you seem like this, like a distilled version of like 50s, 60s American pop culture.
On acid.
Like on acid, exactly. Yeah, I was gonna say a perverted version, but on acid, that totally works.
That's more like it.
Like, what were you listening to growing up that led to that?
Well, everybody in the band had different influences, you know.
Well, this is my theory: is that bands are total flukes in that sense that
They are.
every single person is not only listens to different things,
Yes.
but wants their band to sound different. And so great bands arrive through compromise by all these people with a different vision, you know?
That is the big word of the day. Compromise.
Compromise.
When you're with other people, you know. You can't be a bully. You've got to really just sit down and give and take. Right. And if this great part that you thought was so fantastic didn't make it to the song, you just gotta relax, you know.
Right.
It'll come up again or whatever. You know.
Or it'll be like Voodoo Begonia. It'll sit there on a shelf somewhere forever.
In my mind, though.
Right.
It's in my mind.
Let's back up a little bit. How
Okay.
did you wind up in Athens?
Well, I was born there.
Oh, you were born and raised there?
Yeah, real
Okay.
Athenian.
So you're local. I always just imagined that everybody would have like gone there for college or something.
Well, Fred did.
Okay.
Fred, I was going to take forestry.
Why is that funny? But
It's
it is.
funny.
Yeah.
It's funny. And but he was having a good time and stopped college after a while. And
But even before that, like growing up, I'm just wondering what like your childhood was like in
Athens?
Like what was Athens like at that time?
it's not like it is now. Have you been?
I've been,
you've been
sure,
there a
on.
lot.
I mean, I started
Yeah.
going to Athens maybe in the mid '90s or whatever.
Sure.
But I imagine when you were a kid, it was probably very different.
Yeah, I mean,
from
yeah,
that.
it was still the
This is all
anchor.
colored, by the way. I've been binge watching that new Ken Burns Vietnam War
yeah?
documentary, which I don't know if you've seen any of it, but it's
I saw the
it's
Vietnam.
amazing.
I've seen a few episodes.
Yeah,
of it.
so good.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I want to see the whole thing, but I haven't been able to. But I've seen different parts of it.
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
so good. But it's like it's I just trip out on how different America looked and how different people sounded. You know, there's all these sort of regional accents that have kind of dwindled away
It's
and all
true.
that sort of thing. So
Well, I haven't lost mine, so.
oh, good. Hold it down. So I mean, what was your childhood like though? Was your family musical?
No, my mother was to an extent, but no, it was Ricky. He was he's 4 years older than I was, and he came through the generation that saw Ed Sullivan. We both saw Ed Sullivan and the Beatles on TV, and Ricky became a Beatlemaniac. Everything all over his walls is Beatles. I mean, up and down
Right,
Beatles.
right.
You know, and I think that really colored his world for a long time. And then he got older and he learned how to play guitar. He taught himself how to do that, and he was listening to folk music, Joni Mitchell with the open tunings and everything.
Yeah.
And Captain Beefheart, he loved Captain Beefheart, I remember, and Joan Baez, and he even had an Iggy Pop record, and I
Really?
remember the Stooges, and then we got up into, he and Keith went to Europe for a couple of years, and Ricky went to school in Germany for learning German, and then they did the kind of hippie tourist thing and stayed at youth
Backpacking and all that.
hostels, and actually lived in caves in Greece for a little while.
Oh, cool.
It was very cool. But when he came back, that's when the B-52s happened.
Okay, so what year would that have been?
I was 19, so I guess it was like, I'm thinking 77.
So did you have bands, like were you singing before that or playing an instrument or anything? Did you have bands pre B-52s?
No, it was Ricky and I. I would sing with Ricky. He'd call me in his room, and he was like, you do this, you do that, And I said, oh, okay. I was listening 45s, and I was pretending I was on stage, I was very shy. I'm still very shy. but but a lot of musicians are, and
Yeah.
a lot of performers are.
Sure.
Go figure.
Yeah, I know. It's just like it
Don't
doesn't
know
make
what
sense,
that-
but
it
it's
doesn't make
true. Yeah.
sense. But so it's funny, but yeah, I had this whole platoon world. I have a great imagination, and I'm very creative. So, and I'm good at working with a group of people to building things.
Right.
I'm a good personality to be there and to put things, to be, singing and
Sure.
and I come from kind of a I guess an innocent or kind of I don't know, just like not schooled vocal,
Right.
or I don't know how to read music, or
Right.
anything like
Right.
that.
Right.
But I know how to be catching like creative things and
Sure.
and blending,
Following inspiration and that
yes.
sort of thing. Yeah.
And so that was the real magic of the B-52s is is capturing things like that.
So how did the band, if that was your first band, how did it? And it
I was
moved
19
from you and your
when
brother.
it started.
But
for
like, how
God's
did
sakes.
it change from just you and your brother in your room or whatever playing songs to
Oh,
getting
well-
the other folks involved and actually turning into a band and going out and playing?
Well, it's pretty well known that we got together with Fred and Kate we went out to eat at a Chinese restaurant and got one of these big rum drinks with sterno on the top. It was a volcano.
Oh, yeah,
And it
yeah.
had a moat with rum, this really intoxicating rum in it. And we all had straws. We didn't have much money, so we all shared this big drink. And we got a little tipsy. And we went back and started jamming just for fun in a friend's basement. He had all the instruments and everything. And oh my God, we just had the best time. And we were just laughing so hard, because, all the jamming. It was just genius. And we were, it was really fabulous. So
were you jamming on cover tunes, or did your brother already have songs kind of written?
This was really
riffs?
art. It's kind of really arty, just by just going for it, just
Right.
making it up.
Right.
And I think bits of Rock Lobster was there, and bits of Planet Claire might have been there, and
Really, in that first
yeah,
jam?
bits of it, sure. And so we decided, hey, this is great. We instantly thought we saw something, and said, well, let's play for a friend's party, Valentine's party that's coming up next month, And so we rehearsed and only had about 5 songs, but we performed that and then did it again, and everybody was just, all of our friends were, were just having the best time.
What was that scene in Athens?
It was.
I mean, this would have been like the
there was
very
there
early.
weren't that many clubs, so you had to go to parties. People
Right.
had parties.
But was there like a punk rock new wave type of scene
Oh, we were
already
listening.
happening there?
We were listening to Patti Smith, Talking Heads, Sex Pistols came through Atlanta, and I
Ooh.
got to go see that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was historic.
How was that?
It blew me away. It was so historic. It was so much fun. It was
I bet.
crazy. It was crazy. And, and so, yeah, and I bought 45s to bands that you don't hear about anymore, but
Right.
it was fun, And, yeah, we had all those influences. And so after a while, somebody suggested that it was the Fans. Did you ever hear of the group The Fans?
No.
It was an Atlanta group, and they were going to go play in New York. So we followed them up to go just check it out,
Yeah.
And ended up saying, yeah, we got to do this. So we got up more songs, wrote more songs, and really rehearsed, and we got a gig at Max's Kansas City.
Really?
At beginner's night,
Right.
And and then they loved it so much, and I think we shocked everybody,
Were you like
Didn't know
hanging out
where
with
to
Johnny
come up.
Thunders and Debbie Harry and people like that?
We came back the second time we played New York City, and John fucking Cale was sitting at the bar.
Yeah.
And I was going, what? Crazy. I mean, I was in shock, of course.
Right.
You know, you're just like, and
was in those early days of, you know, however you want to describe the new wave music scene, was there a sense of camaraderie among like-minded bands? Because I was a very little kid at that time, but I remember, you know, the new wave and punk rock at that time having a very passionate, it provoked very passionate responses from people, usually that were not into it. You know what I mean? It was sort of like either you were into it or they're like the masses were sort of not into. You know what I mean? Like there was that like punk is bunk, and you know guys with mustaches like wanted to beat you up for having a weird haircut and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, people try to beat us up often, but but you know, we just go with the flow. You know?
Right.
But no, in New York, it was the alternative crowd.
Right.
And I think people recognized our originality and our humor, and were liked it.
Right.
And it was.
But were you guys like?
It was really original. You know? And
but were you hanging out with other bands like, I don't know, Devo and Talking Heads and other bands that were sort of doing alternative music at that time?
We became friends with Talking Heads, and they even helped us with business people, you know, suggested business people.
Okay.
And you know, we opened for them in places, you know, and I still talk to I still see Chris and Tina, you know, probably once a year, you know.
Right.
You know, and you know they're doing well, you know.
Sure.
And it's you know, it was, but other groups I saw a lot of crazy shit, like the punk women were just, it was just outrageous. I was a woman, I'm going to show my age, I'm totally forgetting things, but there's this wonderful punk artist that would drive her car off of like the pier, you know, while she's chained to it,
right.
You know, and it would show that film, and you know, some great artists that was happening.
You
back
always
then.
hear about New York and LA, maybe Chicago or DC or places like that, but you never hear about like the southern new wave world or alternative rock.
Oh, well, you know,
was there
Athens
a big scene?
Oh yeah, Athens had it.
And Atlanta must have been hopping, right?
Atlanta had the fans, and there were the swimming pool queues, and then later, of course, Athens spawned a lot of
sure.
Like Pylon, and which was important.
Camper Van Beethoven and stuff like that. Weren't
yeah,
they
and of course R.E.M.
Yeah. Sure.
You know, and other bands, you know.
Yeah, and now, like, you know, Drive By Truckers.
Yes.
Way after that, but still.
Yes.
What like I'm just trying to get a sense of you know, of the times. I don't know if you read John Doe's book about the LA punk rock scene in the 70s. Oh, it's really good.
Is it good? I'll have to get it.
Yeah, it's great. It's like little, you know, each chapter is a different person talking about, you know, what they were doing in 1978 and in the LA sort of underground music scene. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, LA, the Strip was really dangerous back then, you know.
Really?
You could hear guns going off. I remember being in a car going to a gig, you know, and stopping, and there was like a fight, you know, going on. It was really crazy.
Right. I mean, what kind of band were the B-52s at that time? Like a wild partying, touring machine once things got up and running? Or were you guys like heading back to your hotel room to read after the gig? I want to believe that those times were a cocaine-fueled orgy of craziness, but
it wasn't like that.
But you don't have to dish the dirt.
It wasn't like that. But I couldn't come up with the. Well, we did like have food fights in the dressing room. And well, you know, it was very hard. There was once we played in Europe. There was a lot going on, and we played with this for some promoter who advertised that we were going on later than we were, and we only had a short set. And there was a riot because he had sold tickets all the way up to the end, and we had only done one song, and all these people were coming in, you know. So they're in Germany. They were like rioting, and we had to take off our wigs and run, you know.
Oh no! Did the wigs get left behind?
Yeah, you know, leave them, let them have it. You know. But it was we had a lot of good times.
Where did you get all the stuff? I mean, I imagine thrift stores back then just must have been chocked full of incredible stuff.
Yeah, we did. We it was when the thrift stores were really had like 40s, 50s style, 60s of course, and you know, yeah. And now it's all picked over. And
totally. Everybody knows what they have now.
Yeah.
You know, everybody knows what things are worth.
Yeah.
Thank you, Internet,
yes,
for ruining our bargain bin guitar shopping and clothes shopping.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. You can still find things from time to time.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Depends on where you are. You got to find like the one little town that the owner of the thrift store hasn't discovered Google yet. You know? And then there might be a couple things.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah. I had it in my mind, and I went back and looked at like release dates of your records and that sort of thing, and I realized that I think I'm wrong about this, but in my head, sort of as a kid, I think of the B-52s as these sort of two distinct eras.
Me
almost.
too.
You know what I mean? Like there was that late 70s, early 80s period.
I'm with you.
And then there was when Love Shack, you know, when that record came out, and like all of a sudden you guys were like the biggest thing in the world. I thought that maybe you guys had broken up in between that, but looking back at your actual album releases, it does not appear that you did, or did you?
Well, the thing that happened was, you know, well, you're talking about, to me, the best days, of course, were the early days with Ricky.
Right.
And his genius and the original sweep up of our originality,
right?
You know, and all the albums that we made up till Bouncing, and Bouncing was Ricky's last record,
right?
You know, and but Warner Brothers didn't really push that because Ricky's death, you know, happened right there, and I went into you know, kind of a depression, of course, mourning Ricky, and the band was like, just like knocked for a loop. Keith Strickland moved up to Woodstock, New York, and you know, we thought, of course, it was the end, you know? And so it took about a couple of years break, and then Keith had been writing music as his way of relieving stress, or you know, coping with things, and so he brought some music and said, yeah, I want to just see what we could do with it. And so we found a cheap place to, you know, write music in Manhattan, Lower Manhattan, and near Wall Street area. And
were you living in New York at that time?
Yeah, I was living in New York. I lived there for about 12 years.
Oh, really?
Kate and Fred still live in New York State.
Okay.
And Keith is now living in Key West.
Ah.
Yeah. And so we ended up writing, and it turned out this is a great way to you know, to bond back again, and it felt like Ricky was in the room. And to tell you the truth, you know, we weren't writing the album in hopes of it being super colossal hit or anything. It was really a way to it was very nostalgic, looking back at good old days back in Athens and fun times. And so it was a way of trying to just restore our happiness and being together, and it came total surprise that it became such a big hit.
Like, so has there ever been a point where B-52s actually broke up? Because
Well,
I know there's been
no.
periods of inactivity. I know that you had left the band for a little while.
I left for a while. After Cosmic Thing, it was such a colossal hit that we
Toured
forever.
I saw you on that tour.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
And it was great, but it totally burned me out. And I missed Ricky, and so I gave a year's notice, though. I said, listen, guys, I think I'm going to have to, you know, leave after after a year, you know. So and we had been touring straight for 3 years, you know.
Right.
And so at the end of the year, I left, you know, and moved back to Atlanta, which went into culture shock moving back to Georgia because I'd lived in New York for so long, you know. But it was good that I did because I got to, you know my relatives better, you know. And I needed to do that after Ricky passed, you know.
Sure.
So.
And did you start a family?
That came a few years later, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what were you doing through those years of? Because then there's like
Gardening.
that long gap. Really? Will you please give me some gardening tips? You don't know how many times I'm such a failed gardener. You have just ask my wife. It's ridiculous. I have 2 gardening plots at home, and I try to garden, and I just over prune and kill things, and then birds eat it, and I don't know. And then I go on tour, and the whole thing withers and dies. I've had at least 3 attempts.
You got you know, either you got it, you don't.
I guess I don't.
Well, start off with a small garden, then it's not as labor intensive.
Oh, my garden's very small. Usually, it's about the size of this.
But it's great. I've got a small house now, and my husband does the garden. And we live in Athens and it's such a sweet little garden, you know. And a horticulturalist used to own the house, so they did all the plantings. And so when we bought the house, all these great plants came up that, you know, we didn't even know what is that, you know, what's the name of that. So it was pretty cool, you know,
so when
to inherit a yard.
But when did you then start playing with the band again?
Well, that happened. It was a few years. They did Good Stuff, and they toured with that. And after Good Stuff, you know, they asked me if I was interested in coming back, and I said okay, you know, because it'd been a few years by that time.
Sure.
And I did miss, you know, everybody, and I did miss, you know, doing singing and all that. So I said, yeah, well, okay, let's try it out. And you know, they came over to my house. I remember them coming to Atlanta, Kate and Fred and Keith, and we were jamming in my basement again. It just felt great to do it.
I mean, you started with B-52s when you were so young. Was there ever some other thing that you wanted to do with your life that you're like, now's my chance to go become whatever it was that I originally wanted to do on this earth?
Well, you know, I was lucky because I'm very creative. I paint, you know. And I garden, but then as far as doing anything, I probably should have gone back to school, but then I thought, you know, it just didn't occur to me really to go back. You know, it's more just to kind of chill out, you know. And my husband and I, we've been married. I met him on the first party I told you about that the B-52s played at.
What? Really?
Yeah, that party. I met my husband, and it was the beginning of my career with the B-52s.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was the planets were aligned pretty heavily.
You could say so. Well, so, you know, you, obviously you guys made Funplex in, 2008.
Mm-hmm.
How do you decide when it's time to make a new B-52s record or not?
Well, of course, you know, Keith Strickland he's stopped touring with us, so he's still a member of the band, but he's just chose not to go on tour.
Right.
You know? We did Funplex, and we felt like that was a great effort, you know.
Yeah.
And Kate, Fred, and I are talking about doing a single. Just one song, maybe, or 1 or 2 songs this year or next year, you know.
Oh, great.
Yeah, but I don't think we're going to do a whole album.
Okay, I've got your plan. I've got it worked out over the course. You've said you have all this video footage, right?
Well, that's being looked at.
Documentary.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got that going.
I think we're doing a documentary.
You've got this backlog of unreleased songs that you never put out.
That's
a
right.
box set.
There you go.
Boom. Then you get your new single. Then we're done. Then solo record. Bam. It's going to be a busy couple of years.
It'll be huge.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. And I will take my 15% cut. I just want to make that clear.
Well, we hope to do a documentary, in fact. And,
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, great.
We've been doing talks and stuff.
There's this great documentary filmmaker named Ken Burns who I'd like to recommend. I think he would do it. I've been watching the Vietnam one, and he did a great job with that.
You think?
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, thank you so much for coming and doing this today. I'm
Thank
so
you. It was
happy
fun.
to get to talk to you. It's so
Well, it's a
great.
pleasure. You know, I'm a big fan too.
Great. Well,
Get
pleasure
out
to
of
meet
town.
you. You get out of here.
All right, thank you.
All right. All right, that was Cindy Wilson from the B-52s. Make sure you get on over to cindywilsonb52s.com. Get all the information you need about her brand new solo record out on December 1st on Kill Rock Stars. It's called Change. She's going to be hitting the road. She's going to be doing, all the big promo stuff. So check it out. And while you're at it, make sure you get on over to your Spotify account and follow the Walking the Floor playlist. Get on over to the iTunes store. Leave us a review. Leave us a rating. Blah, 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 blah. And we'll see you next week. Adios, amigos!